Secretary Pompeo is joining us now, our Senior Counsel for Global Affairs. Secretary Pompeo, thanks for joining us. You've got a new article up on ACLJ.org. People can check it out. It's called U.S. Support for Taiwan is Crucial. China's aggression deserves more than a strongly worded press release. China's been flexing its muscles in an unprecedented way towards Taiwan. We've all seen that. We've seen the military aircraft they've sent Taiwan's way, especially since President Biden has taken office. What do you think the Chinese endgame is here?
Well, Jordan, thanks for letting me talk about this morning. This is an incredibly important issue to the United States of America. The Chinese interest here is very clear. We don't have to guess. Xi Jinping, the leader, the general secretary of the Chinese Communist Party, says he wants to bring the people of Taiwan inside his totalitarian communist regime. He uses the word reunite, but of course that doesn't reflect the real history. Taiwan has never been part of China. He wants to dominate them. He wants to control this enormous economic power, and he wants to take away this democracy that is just offshore from China. He's intent on doing it. We cannot allow the Chinese Communist Party to take this island away from these people who are Democrats, who are freedom-loving people, and who provide an important security component for the region.
Mike, this is Jay. A lot of people, I'm sure, that are watching the broadcast right now are saying this. Well, we know China is a big trading partner of the United States. Why should we be, as Americans, so concerned about what China does to Taiwan? How does that impact the United States? And a lot of it's concern over the fact that we do a significant trading with China. It's a huge deficit, unfortunately. Now, it wasn't months ago, but it looks like it's back to that again. But for the American people that are watching this broadcast right now and are thinking, what is the reason that we should care as Americans of what happens between China and Taiwan?
Three things. First, the simplest and the crudest is this is an important trading partner for the United States of America. Everyone who has a cell phone, everyone who has a laptop computer, almost certainly has a component that comes from Taiwan. And the Chinese Communist Party knows that. It's a company called TSMC. They're the largest producer of high-end semiconductors in the world. And China would dearly love to control that so they can continue to expand and dominate artificial intelligence and high-end computing in the 10 and 20 years ahead of us. So we have an important economic element to making sure that Taiwan remains free and democratic. Second, the United States has always supported freedom-loving peoples around the world. We should do that here, and it's not the case that we have to go deploy 20 or 50 or 100,000 American soldiers there to do it. We just need to establish in the mind of Xi Jinping, that we're prepared to defend these folks. The third one is that we've made a commitment. We have a set of understandings with Taiwan, and Jay, as you and I have talked about, we walked away from the state of Israel when Iranians launched rockets out of the Gaza Strip. We did nothing but issue a statement. When the Taliban pushed us in Afghanistan, we walked away from this commitment. The world is watching American weakness, and so it is very important that the United States demonstrate resolve on the things that matter to the American people.
Right now, it seems like we're not demonstrating a lot of that resolve, Secretary Pompeo, unfortunately, for the United States, because we saw the Nord Stream 2 pipeline with Russia, the Taliban in Afghanistan, the Iranian recent kind of their proposals to go back to the nuclear talks, and also just the way they're behaving. You think these other world powers just say, you know what, they're not paying attention, they're not asserting that leadership. Let's go grab what we want when we can get it?
100%, Jordan. 100%. World leaders notice what happens in other places. I'll never forget when President Trump authorized the strike that we took against Qasem Soleimani, the Iranian Quds Force leader, when he was plotting to kill more Americans. It mattered in Iran. The leaders there noticed for sure. But in the Middle East, leaders took notice. Chairman Kim in North Korea took notice. Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin in Russia took notice. But they understand when American leaders are prepared to, in a restrained but serious, realistic way, defend the things that matter. Those leaders notice around the world. They won't push the United States, and we'll be allowed to live the way we want to, with the religious freedom we want at home, and all the things that matter to every American.
Mike, you have a piece up at ACLJ.org, and I'm going to read a quote from it. I want to get your comments. You write that China is testing our mettle. They want to know how far they can go before America responds with something other than strongly worded press releases. If this aggression is an opening salvo or test of our resolve, how far do you think the CCP is willing to go? Which is the question. How far is the CCP willing to go?
Jay, it is the question, and we know a good part of the answer. We know the last 25 years. And this isn't partisan. This was Republican presidents and Democrat presidents and Congresses alike. We just turned the other cheek for so long, and President Trump and our administration was the first one to acknowledge that just as the Soviet Union wanted to undermine our republic, the Chinese Communist Party now sits in that same place. They have enormous capacity, enormous strength. They will push until they find steel. We need to demonstrate that, and not just militarily. We need to make sure that we have the capacity to defend ourselves militarily. But this is an economic war that the Chinese have been engaged in for decades now, and we've allowed them to take millions of great jobs from the United States of America and transfer them to China, and we did nothing. President Trump was serious about fixing that mismatch, that asymmetry. I hope this administration will be serious about it as well. I've not seen that the people they've put in place to lead their China policy suggest that we will appease the Chinese Communist Party until the day that the world looks very different from the one that has allowed us to live in prosperity for the past 240 years.
Is that what it's all about, is appeasement? Because I'm trying to look at it for a strategy for the Biden team when it comes to the Chinese aggression. And you talk about appeasement, you talk about press releases. That's kind of all I see. I mean, there might be things happening that we don't see, but it doesn't seem that we're taking this strong approach. And sometimes it feels like they're just they don't even care about this issue.
Jordan, this is something you all have been working on at ACLJ, right? It's this project about, here's another example about religious freedom. John Kerry actually said, about these million people, maybe it's 2 million, held in Western China, where they're conducting genocide against the Uyghurs. He said, it's a tough world out there. We just need to make sure that they build a couple less coal-fired power plants. This is naive. It is appeasing the Chinese Communist Party that isn't about to live up to its promises on climate or anything else. And the administration has demonstrated that they are confused and weak and unwilling to do the things that will preserve our way of life here in the United States.
Secretary Pompeo, yesterday your tweet, which I liked, was, when America leads with strength, the world's a safer place. By default, are we less safe right now? I mean, it feels that way. I think that for people who are paying attention, it feels that way. If you don't even look at it from a partisan view and just kind of see the standing of our country around the world, it feels like we're not as safe as we were.
Jordan, I was in Israel for 4 days over this past weekend, and I had a chance to meet with people from all across the region. They kept asking the same question. Is America prepared to do the things that it has traditionally done to not only ensure its own safety and security, but live up to the promises it has made for all these years? And the data set, the evidence in place these first 9 months of the Biden administration has really cast doubt on American credibility across the world. It's just like trust in any relationship. It's possible to get back, but you have to demonstrate that you're prepared to do hard things, to do difficult things when they're right for America. And the world is asking, is the Biden administration up to the task? I hope and pray that they are.
Secretary Pompeo, as always, I thank you for spending some time with us, our Senior Counsel for Global Affairs. I encourage everyone to go to ACLJ.org and read and share this new piece by Secretary Pompeo. U.S. support for Taiwan is crucial. China's aggression deserves more than a strongly worded press release. That is up at ACLJ.org.